for the answer? All right, here we go.
Yeah, wait, is Tyler going to go first or am I going first?
No, you're good, Ryan. You're good.
Okay, so why have there been so few prequel UCS? Like, basically, so you had 2010 was the Obi-Wan Starfighter, right? And then after that, things fell off, right? 2010, like, there were, like, I found pictures a lot on Brickshelf, if you guys ever use that website, but a lot of sets in that era. Clone sets included, everything, you know, would be Lego store half price a lot. I'm sure Tyler, you remember, like, clone battle packs, $5 day after Christmas, that kind of, which is a good shit. But this set, the Venator, the home one Man Calamari Caruso set is cheap to this day. That's how, I guess, unpopular and overproduced it was at the time, right? So it's not just exclusive to Clone Wars sets. So they didn't just stop making Clone Wars sets because, or prequel UCS sets because it flopped or wasn't selling well, I would say, because they had, like, 2014 came along. You know, all these good things happen. But I think the reason there were no prequel UCS sets for 10, 11 years, and it's unfortunately somewhat warranted, is pretty obvious. So for the first, you know, 1999 to 2010ish, right, when they released the last one, the movies were coming out. So you had 1999, 2002, 2005 movie, then you had the Clone Wars movie in 2008, and they dropped Grievous that year. There was Darth Maul, the Naboo, and then Obi-Wan. So that's the 4 for that, like, decade, right? And after that, there were no more movies. And movies obviously tend to be the big pushers of these sorts of things, obviously in a different era, like than we are now.
That's fair. Yeah, makes sense.
And so as we got into the 2010s, you no longer had the movies to push these sorts of UCS sets, so you're just kind of back to relying on what's tried and true, which, like, makes sense for them from a business perspective. And what I have, like, looked back on about the YouTube Lego space specifically, which is somewhat representative of the online Lego Star Wars community. You know, not everyone's going to be there, but generally what the YouTube Lego space and you know, to me was in the early years was a bunch of, like, young teenage boys playing with Legos and, like, just doing Lego videos. Like, that's what it was. There were no girls. There were no adults making YouTube videos except for a select few, like Lox Tane. I remember Lego Man 7777. There was another guy I can't fucking remember, but, like, very few and far between as far as adults went. And obviously any of the adults would be mostly, like, obviously at that time, very predisposed to hating the prequels anyway. So a lot of people that are now in my position that are 25 to 30 or maybe 20 to 30, you'd say, at the time that 2010 came around and the movies got cut off, basically, it was like, oh, now it's a bunch of, like, I didn't fucking have
Venator money. You didn't have, you didn't have UCS money.
That money didn't exist for a lot of us. Like, I'm sure Tyler's same boat. Like, you didn't just have $500 to buy a UCS Venator in 2013, right? Like, that just didn't exist. So I think for that decade, and, like, the money just wouldn't be there if they had released one anyway. The money just wouldn't be there. And I think it's way different now. And I think they have maybe figured that out after, you know, what we did with the UCS gunship poll. And obviously I did a very good job pushing that, I think. And I did like 3 videos, a live stream, a debate. I had a debate. That was fun stuff. But it's like, fuck, like, now you can kind of see that there's a lot of people that are into this sort of stuff. Like, fuck, like, the views the videos get about Clone Wars stuff in general is pretty representative. So yeah, I think the money just wasn't there for a decade, like, at all. Like, even if they had released one, it would have almost certainly flopped, even if it was the best set ever, just because, like, I didn't have the fucking money until probably 3 or 4 years ago to be able to just get it, you know, like, it just wasn't there. And, like, most people were probably high school age, and most people in high school don't have a job anyway. You're not going to be able to afford it. So I think things should change over this decade, and we should see a infusion a little bit more. If they're going to release 23, I don't know, call it 14 more UCS sets for the entire decade. I don't know if that's on the neck or on the dot or not, but say 5 of them are from the prequels for, like, for the rest of, like, the decade. So you get the 2 in 2025, and then you get a few more thrown in there throughout the last, like, 5 years. That's what I would guess, but hard to, you know, so far out, it's hard to know. But yeah, that's my take. That's why I think we had a decade. You don't have to clap. I appreciate it though.
No, listen, that's
Straight.
just
all I wanted to hear.
Wait, what's the Georgia? What's
By the way, the chat is on fire, Ryan. I know you don't like being blown up, but everybody's like, he's spitting fire. He's telling the truth. What I loved about it was grounded in what I loved about it was it's still tied into the almighty Lego dollar, and that's what I really think it is. I don't think they're being jerks intentionally. I really think
I think they are with some money. They're just
fine, but I think they're not. They don't think the money's
because they're jerks.
I just think that they don't think the money's right for that yet. That's all. Because you guys, you said, admittedly, like all of you guys in the panel except me are still in your 20s, and fair or not, there's analytics, there's all this stuff, there's more data than there's ever been, and they're like, dudes are not going to drop a 7-piece on a prequel set right now. They're just not there yet. Not us in this bubble.
Release one that expensive anyway. I think that would be silly. But
fair enough. That's dumb. Whatever it is, right? You're right. But to me, like, yeah, the things that should be reserved for that are a Falcon, whatever, like ultimately iconic for the whole brand, not necessarily like a whatever. The point is like,
just when I think back to it, like 2010s it was literally like, and especially because of the COVID boom of Lego fandom and all the like college kids that came into it, like through watching my I get so many messages like, oh, I got back into Lego Star, and like people that come up to me at conventions that are like my age, like same type of thing. Like I got back in from watching your videos, blah, 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 that sort of thing. And it's like that pre 2020, that 2019, maybe, not so much of that, because it was mostly just people that have been into it, and like that's kind of all you had. So I think you're saying the money wasn't there, and that's kind of the place to be.
I think it's more of that than they're jerks, but I will say, like, you've made so many valid points on how they've been sloppy, lazy, whatever it is when it comes to that, because I'm not saying I dismiss that at all, but I just think the biggest factor is they're just like, they don't have the dough for this stuff yet. Fair or not, that's kind of where they're at. And let's see. Solid Bricks brings out a really deep question here.